Okay, we are in a discussion of a AWS solution architect, and we've been discussing about development strategies, coding, how coding developed for a long period of time from 90s, 2002 up to now, how it's been changed into repositories, and then how it's changed into cloud, right? So we are going to discuss another topic which is really related to uh, coding, uh, that is AWS code pipeline. Right. So today we're going to talk about how code pipeline works in the AWS in point of view of solution architect, right? Okay, so as you could see the picture, so this is code pipeline means whole coding process. It's starting from you started from a scratch to start coding like source repository like GitHub. You started the coding and then goes to building stage, and then after building stage, it's going to go to compiling and packaging, and then coming into a test stage, a pre-production environment, and then you're going to go to deploy stage, maybe a green blue deployment testing, and then once everything works fine, going to go to a production environment. That is what we are talking in the AWS code pipeline. AWS code pipeline is the service which is provided basically for developers, right? So continuous delivery is the software development methodology, yeah, emphasize automating the release and deployment process. So AWS code pipeline is a fully managed continuous delivery service that models and automate the steps required to release your software, enabling rapid and reliable feature deployment with reduced human error. So this is where what we're going to discuss, right? So, in this video, we're going to overview what is the code pipeline, right? And then what are the core components, right? And then setting up your pipeline. We get to talk about configuration and what other software integrate with the AWS service, and then how you automate and monitoring, right? And then we briefly going to discuss what sort of real world user case. Okay, so code pipeline timeline means how code pipeline works, and that is from a source to production, source code production. That is the continuous delivery cycle, the automated continuous delivery cycle. So this is starting code. You starting code in GitHub, let's say, and then you do a code commit. Once you do a code commit, it started building and compiling testing, right? And then you're going to go test quality check. You're going to check for vulnerabilities and any errors. If there's any error, just have to go back into a code commit, and then again compile and testing. Now with the after testing and quality check, if you're happy, then it will go to deploy to a staging a pre-production environment. Pre-production environment, and then you go to approval process, and then it will go to a production live release. Okay, so code pipeline fundamentals and core functions. So This is core function, core functionality. So AWS code pipeline model and automate the steps required to release software, automatically build, commit changes, and then test, and then deploy. The fully managed service eliminate infrastructure management overhead, allowing teams to focus on application quality rather than pipeline infrastructure. Whatever the environment you need, mostly it's available. So the advantages of this process, major major core functionality to build, test, deploy. That's free. And the frequent release, so you can release more um, new features with a multiple for daily, and then reliability consistent. So because of the environment are similar, so it's going to have a reliability process, and then a lot of automated process preventing many of human errors we've been doing in uh, traditional code deployment process, right? Okay, so let's talk about this sort of primary stages. So stage one, the source code stage, the purpose and function, right? The source stage is the entry point of your pipeline. It retrieves application code from your source repository where the code changes are detected. The stage automatically triggers pipeline execution, initiating the entire release process. Right? And supported repositories support pipeline integrate with the multiple repository platform. Right? And then AWS code commit, right? Native AWS Git repository that we're going to discuss in a separate video, but it's the code commit is inside AWS. If you don't use something like that, Git hub, so this is what you're going to use, right? And Bitbucket is another code repository, and then you have a GitHub, same as code repository, and then you also have Amazon S3 object storage, right? Um, so source stage flow diagram. So repository, code, commit, GitHub, and then you detect changes, and then you go source stage code pipeline, and then trigger pipeline execution begins. So as soon as you detect a change in your coding commit, then it will start at the going into this process, right? Code pipeline process. The second stage is a build stage. Core activities in this build stage transform source code into a deployable artifact. Primary activities include system compilation, converting source code to executable formatting packaging. So that means we compile, right? So unit testing, running code quality test, right? Artifact creation, generate deployable packages. So that will create jar, zip, Docker images. So there is the deployable packages with the coding, right? AWS code build integration. So code build is the primary AWS service for build activities. It provides customizable build environment in Java, Python, Node.js, and then it's coming up with a fully managed infrastructure, and then like scalability and cost optimization. So you can use code build as well, right? So then like stage three and four, test and deployment stages. Stage three is test stage, an additional quality assurance check beyond initial unit test, including integration test, test, performance test. The critical stage reduce risk of releasing a buggy code production. Code pipeline also support manual approvals at this stage. The team member can review test results before proceeding to deployment. Manual approvals can be configured at any subsequent stage, providing governance and compliance checkpoints. So, then last stage is deployment stage. So, deployment stage release the tested application to target environment like blue, green deployment. The code pipeline integrates with multiple deployment services. Support diverse deployment strategy, right? So it can be used AWS Code Deploy to deploy to EC2 on premises. Code Deploy basically deploys the code into a computer-based environment, right? And then you can use AWS Elastic Beanstalk, right? And then you can use AWS for cloud formation as well. Mm. So code pipeline integrations ecosystem. So code pipeline flexibility stems from extensive AWS service integration, enabling end-to-end automation to diverse application types and architecture. Serving services extend pipeline capabilities. So pipeline capabilities, the pipeline is the process of code, let's say A to Z, right? Let's say you do A to Z, and then it can be integrated there, right? Um, in a way with these other services to have, right? The code pipeline, so container storage, so can be used the ECR container registry, and then you can use S3 for artifact storage, so it's where you want code to execute and code to store data, so you can use the S3 as object storage for this process, and then uh, you can integrate with the Lambda function serverless, and then code deployment is infrastructure as code deployment, and then development code is the unified environment, right? So um, see that the same thing is here explained. So code pipeline can be integrated with these ones in the middle of these services, right? Extending the main process. Okay, so deployment targets and flexibility. So code pipeline support deployment to a wide variety of target environments, right? Which make it suitable for any infrastructure. So flexibility enables a seamless integration, right? Uh, Deployment target and the description and use case. Deployment targets are easy to instances and then virtual servers running application directly, traditional server-based application for use case, and then easy to start, bunch of computers easy to container orchestration platform, and containerized microservices, right? Clusters means uh, elastic container service, right? Uh, Containers, not computers. So I said that bunch of computers is bunch of containers, right? And then AWS Lambda function. Lambda function is a serverless compute function, event-driven applications. Also, it can use on-premises servers, right? So physical servers via code deploy agent, hybrid environment for legacy systems, right? Then operational benefits, monitoring and management. So monitoring capabilities, code pipeline provides comprehensive monitoring and visibility features, right? Uh, as a real-time update, then alert and notification via SMS or email, SMS, and then you can have CloudTrail as audit flow. So beyond monitoring, code pipeline simplifies administration and scale growth. So you can have a pipeline template, right? And then you can have manual approvals, and then execution history, area notifications, and also you have a rollback support as well, right? Strategic benefit of using code pipeline, right? So release frequency is a it's a free time in deployment frequency. Time to market is 8% faster. The error reduction is 95, and reliability is 99. Right. So key business outcomes of increased release frequency, so bug fixing, right? Multiple times a day, right? You can release, and then reliability is improved, reduce the risk, right? You have a rollback capability, improved visibility, right? You have monitoring services you can have with this code pipeline, right? So summary and architecture associated and focus. Key takeaways is that pipeline is a powerful, fully managed continuous delivery service suitable for applications, all size programming language, coding, eliminate infrastructure management overhead while providing enterprise-grade automation, right? So support multiple source repositories, and then diverse deployment targets, and then AWS service integrations, and support hybrid and multi-cloud environment. So consider these factors when you're deciding if this code pipeline is suitable for something you're going to select. Uh, so concept from us is source stage, right? Retrieval and pipeline trigger build stage, and then test stage, and then deploy stage. So also make sure you know code pipeline support hybrid environment, enabling organizations to automate release on-premises cloud and mixed infrastructure deployment. So I think we extensively spoke about this deployment environment and platforms. I believe this is for today's video. We'll see you guys from another video. Until then, thank you very much.